Hi, everyone. Welcome today. I'm very excited to have a lawyer from Portugal on our show, and I want to talk about how Americans are taxed in Portugal. It is so exciting to go to Portugal and to visit, and a lot of people want to move there from the United States. I have on the call today Maria Ana Pescadinha, who is a lawyer who is a specialist in putting visas together. So, in the comments below, you will see her contact information. Visasinportugal.com is her website. So, if you're looking to move to Portugal, and want to get professional, expert, experienced legal advice, Maria is your person. Maria, thanks for joining our show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Hey, I'm excited. Right now, I'm in Portugal, and you talk to a lot of people from the United States coming here, and it's a beautiful country and has very generous visitation residency packages for people. But a lot of people have questions about what is the process if an American is interested in becoming a resident of Portugal? What would you talk to them about first?
Okay, that's a very good question. So, first of all, I believe we would address the tax implications with someone like you, of course, who can entail the tax implications on moving to another country, regardless if it's Portugal or any other country in the world. Now, in Portugal, we have, like you said, several visas, several residency permits that you can apply for. It really depends on what's your goals as a person, as a family. Do you want to stay long in the country? Do you only want to spend a week or two in 1 year, or do you really want to retire and move to the country? So depending on these circumstances, one can find the best visa applications for them. So my suggestion is always, when it comes to visasinportugal.com, when it comes to my firm, my suggestion is always, let's do a strategy session first. Let's analyze your circumstances, your goals, to understand the best visa application for you. And as you know, you're in the country, you're in Portugal. Portugal is an amazing country from north to south. Some prefer the central region. Algarve is one of the best places that most of the expats want to stay in because of the warmth. But it is an amazing country from one point to the other. Small, but gorgeous, and with so much different landscapes. If you want the sea, if you want the countryside, don't you agree?
I agree. I agree. It's in the United States, we know very little about Portugal. Um, and, in history books, we would learn about Portugal and how the Portuguese were the first navigators going around Africa and sailing and going to Vasco da Gama and going to Brazil. And we learn about that. Then all of a sudden, all our learning in the United States, all of a sudden it's Spain, France, and England. And Portugal just drops off the map. And, and I think people as a result, have very little knowledge of Portugal. So, of course, we know that this is because there was a massive earthquake in Lisbon around 1755, which really set the country back for a number of years and really set the economic powerhouse that it was, set it back. But it is a great place. It's an amazing country, very diverse landscape. You're up near the city of Nazaré, which is where some of the largest waves for surfing occur in the entire world. And it's an amazing, beautiful place to visit.
It is. That's where we are located at in Nazaré. Actually, we are very, very close friends with the biggest wave surfer of the biggest wave ever surfed in the world record, the first one, which was Garrett McNamara, a U.S. citizen that resides in Hawaii at the time and in Portugal, divides himself between Portugal and Hawaii. Yes, and he is from the US. So there's a big, big friendship between the US and Portugal for so many reasons. But nowadays, actually, it's for the big waves ever surfed in the world. That's true. But like you said, when there was that earthquake in Lisbon, that was ages ago. Portugal nowadays is a very competitive country with all the modernity, everything that you need in life. You'll find it here. Bureaucracy, if you need a document or so, it's fast to get to apply if you have the right help. Of course, there's always the language barrier because you don't speak Portuguese, so it's always good and helpful if you find someone to assist with you. But from my experience, all US citizens that travel to Portugal, they always say, I'm going to move in. I'm going to move to Portugal.
It is truly an amazing place. Lovely people. And I've been all over Europe and stayed long, extended times, and I really love Portugal the most. Let's talk about taxes, since that's the tax show, and you do a lot,
Okay.
you do taxes for Americans, especially regarding cryptocurrency, because this is an area there's a lot of confusion. A lot of confusion is on the American side, and I'll just preface it for all the Americans listening: is American tax law is totally different than the rest of the world, and particularly in the area of what's called it's citizen-based taxation, not residency-based taxation. What that means is that the mere fact that you're a citizen of the United States, regardless of where you live in the world, all your income from whatever sources, wherever in the world derived, is subject to U.S. taxation. Now,
I
that's
know.
that's very aggressive.
It is.
No other country is like that. I mean, virtually every other country taxes you only when you're in the country. So do not get your advice from the bar and talking to foreigners about how they get taxed. When you're Americans, you're taxed separately. There's two big exceptions that are granted to Americans living abroad that are very big and very important. One is the foreign tax credit, and this is
Okay.
a credit, a dollar for dollar credit on your U.S. taxes for taxes that you pay, in this case, in Portugal. So as a result, you're never going to pay twice the tax on the same income. Okay, so that's very important for everyone to be aware of. And quite frequently, people's taxes in foreign countries can exceed the Americans' taxes. So your tax bill could be completely wiped out if you're paying those taxes in a foreign country. The second consideration, and I have a book on Amazon on this, it's called the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion, which is currently an exclusion of roughly, I think, about $160,000 of your first $160,000 of income from labor, all right, from working, not investing, is excluded from federal income tax. You're still subject to self-employment tax, which is basically like Social Security. That amount of 160 changes every year, so you have to double check when you come here. But
Right.
those two things together can make it very attractive to be a person living in Portugal.
That's true.
Now,
Now,
cryptocurrency taxation is much spoken of. How is it taxed in Portugal?
okay. So crypto was not regulated before 2023. We only had regulations on crypto starting 2023. So it's quite a young process, if I might say. And there's not a lot of experience and not a lot of knowledge in the area. So that's why we started doing our taxes for our clients because we are a crypto based law firm. So most of our clients are related to crypto, and it's our pleasure to assist them in anything they need in Portugal. So, with that being said, crypto has been regulated since 2023, and there's two basic positions on crypto in Portugal. So, if one sells crypto to fiat of crypto that they have held for more than 1 year, they do have to declare it in their tax return, but it's taxed at 0% because they have held that crypto for more than 1 year before they sold it into fiat. On the other side, if one had sold crypto to fiat of crypto that they held for less than 1 year, then they do declare and they pay taxes at 28%. Now, you would ask me, okay, Maria, but what about stable coins? They don't consider that fiat, so that's crypto. What about crypto to crypto transactions? We don't declare them. That is not a taxable event. Okay? So these two situations are the ones that cause you to have a tax event. Selling crypto to fiat, if it's held for more than 1 year, if it was held for less than 1 year. Then you have other situations like mining. You do have to declare the mining situation and be taxed on it. But again, I think the most important idea that a US citizen has to have when moving to Portugal is that the experience they have with taxes with the IRS in the US has no comparison to the one in Portugal. We are not an aggressive country when it comes to taxes. We are here to assist, we are here to help, and the goal is always to find the more friendly tax declaration for the citizen, of course, complying with all the laws. In the case of the US citizens, you were saying that you have those two options, but there's also a third option, which is the tax treaty between Portugal and the United States. I believe it was 1940 something that we have celebrated a tax treaty between Portugal and the United States, where we state some rules. If one has paid those taxes, for example, in income in the US, they will not pay them in Portugal or paying the difference. If one receives dividends from a company in the US, but they are living in Portugal, they will pay those taxes in the US or in Portugal, depending on their choice. So there's a lot of rules in that double tax treaty. The problem, the challenge that our clients face is that not every accountant knows how to apply that double tax treaty, and then we see them paying that extra 10 to 15% on taxes, and that's where your dollar to dollar situation comes handy and comes to help and to assist on that. There's also other situations where one has a visa in Portugal, a D8 visa or a D7 visa, that allows them to stay 6 months in the country in a row or 8 months with gaps, or the whole year, but the minimum is 6 months to 8 months with gaps. Some of them choose to be taxed in the US instead of Portugal. They can be a tax resident of the US and an immigration resident in Portugal. Those are two different situations. So you would say, but I'm living in the country. How am I not taxed in the country? Well, you are a tax resident of one country if you spend 183 days in that country, right? And that in Portugal is from the 1st of January till the 31st of December. So let's say that you have a visa, a residency permit it was issued in August, for example, and you want to spend your 6 months in a row. So the 30th of August, you have your residency permit issued. So your 6 months will be September, October, November, December, January, and February. Those will be your 6 months minimum stay for that visa. If you notice, that doesn't give you 183 days out of the civil year for tax purposes, which means you can have the taxes being held only in the US and not in Portugal. These are some strategies that you use if you don't want to be confused with two tax systems. On the other hand, we have US citizens that do their taxes in the US, and then when they file the Portuguese taxes, they want to be tax residents in both countries. They will declare that they already pay those taxes in the US, and then the tax office will do a checkup on their IRS from the US to see if there's extra taxes to pay here or not.
Of course, when you say IRS, you're talking about the Portugal IRS.
No, I was talking about the US IRS because my clients always says, Maria, the IRS, Maria, the IRS. So I keep calling it the US. The IRS is the US one.
All right, very good. Hey, now let me tease out a little subtlety there. I mean, there's been some discussion on cryptocurrency taxation. The idea is what you said was stable coins, when they go to fiat, they're not taxed. Now, if I trade one cryptocurrency for another cryptocurrency, I think I heard you say that if you held the first currency for at least a year.
No. If I have Bitcoin, I bought Bitcoin on the 1st of January of 2021. 2 months after, I traded to Ethereum. 2 months after, I traded to Cardano. 2 months after, I traded to USDT. 2 months after, I traded to Cardano again. So all of these transactions that I just said are not a taxable event because it's always crypto to crypto transactions. We don't even declare them. There's no taxes to pay or declaration to do.
Regardless of the holding period.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. It's not a taxable event because it's crypto to crypto transactions. Even when it's USDT, USDC, it's crypto to crypto transactions, okay? Only the bull run comes, it's 2025, and I sell that Bitcoin that it's now Cardano or Ethereum, it was USDT. And in 2025, I decide to sell it for euros or dollars. So I'm changing it to fiat. The timeline that I'm going to count is from the first time I purchased it. So it's when fiat entered into crypto, and now crypto is going after fiat. And that was more than a year because I bought that Bitcoin in the 1st of January of 2021, right? Regardless of all the transactions that had in the middle, they were all crypto to crypto transactions, and the time didn't stop counting. It's
Ooh,
only
that's
now that I'm converting into euros or dollars and put it in my bank account. That's when it becomes a taxable event. And that's when I have to declare it in my tax return.
that is that way of tracking the cost basis, starting from when fiat first went into cryptocurrency, generally speaking. That is a very that can be complicated for people. I imagine it's complicated for you.
It can be. It can be. I
Now,
normally say that those who did this law never held crypto in their life. They have no idea what they're talking about. So yeah, it's not easy. But if you use Kraken, Binance, or whatever, they always have the history, and you can see it. And there's another rule that is really important: the FIFO rule, the first in, first out. So even if I buy two Bitcoins today and I sell them tomorrow, if I have old Bitcoin that I bought more than a year, I will count it as I sold that Bitcoin, right? Because it's the
mhm.
first in, first out.
Okay, so if I have Bitcoin and I trade it for USDC, a stable coin, there's no tax on that transaction. But when I sell the stable coin for fiat, what is the cost basis of the stable coin? Is it a dollar or is it the original fiat to crypto price from way back?
It's from the crypto price from way back, the first transaction. So if in 2024 you put 100 euros in crypto and that 100 euros became 1,000 euros in 2025, in your tax declaration, you have to say, in the 1st of January of 2024, I bought 100 euros of USDC with Kraken. And then in the 1st of August of 2025, I sold that USDC for 1,000 euros. Imagine if that was the case. And because it was held for more than a year, there's not even capital gains to be to be declared. It's only the transaction itself.
How about staking rewards? Are they taxed upon receipt or when later sold?
They will tax them when they are sold.
So not on receipt, not when you first receive them.
No,
Yeah, how about mining rewards? Is that the same thing with them?
no, mining, when you mine, you have to declare because it's like income that you have received, isn't it? And that's how declare them. And in staking, because the law is so confused, it's confusing the law because it's a brand new one. It's from 2023. There's not a lot of experience with crypto in the country. Normally, the staking rewards, we end up putting them all as capital gains when you sell that crypto into fiat, and that's it. But mining is different. When you receive the mining product, that's when you declare it.
Very good. Now, does it matter whether you trade cryptocurrencies on a Portuguese exchange or an exchange that has an office in Portugal versus other countries?
No, that no. The only difference is that Portuguese-based exchange, they have to report to the country the transactions we are doing, the amounts and whatnot, and they have taxes that they have to pay because they are an exchange located in the country. Myself, I always use outside exchanges because I'm used to Binance, Kraken, and whatnot. And that's what I advise my clients to do as well, because those who held crypto, those who navigate in the crypto world, what they want normally is to serve the anonymous, right? To be doing their trading and not being declaring everything they do. At least in Portugal we can do that, so I always avoid the Portuguese exchanges for that reason. That's only
That's a
because of
good
that.
tip. Very good tip. There's no incentive to trade on a Portuguese exchange versus any other exchange. So you might as well do it on an exchange you're comfortable with.
Yes, that's exactly it. It needs to be an exchange that we are really comfortable with, right? Because there's so much noise sometimes that you need to feel comfortable when you're doing your trading, when you're doing your transactions.
Maybe you could talk about what the tax brackets are, the tax rates in generally speaking in Portugal.
Well, for US citizens, the most interesting thing about taxes in Portugal, I would say, from my experience, would be on property acquisition, for example. Crypto, we already discussed, is always the most important thing, but property acquisition as well. In Portugal, regardless if you are foreigner, if you are a Portuguese citizen, you are going to pay the same taxes when you acquire property. So if one goes to buy a property today, it's a 300,000 euros property, they are going to pay stamp tax, which is always 0.8% of the property value, and they are going to pay the EMT, which is transmission tax. Now I had a no, I was losing transmission tax on property. Yes, and that is the percentage depends on the value of the property. So the higher is the value, the higher will be the percentage. It can go up to 6 to 8% of the property value, depending if it's a if it's in the highest, like 3 million, 4 million, then it will have the highest percentage on transmission tax. But that tax is always payable regardless if you are an expat, if you are a Portuguese citizen, you are going to pay the same. The only difference where you can avoid paying the transmission tax, the stamp tax you pay always, is when you have a company and that company goal is to buy and sell properties. So if you buy and sell properties with that company, you have 2 years to sell the property you just bought because that's what you do for a living, that's your work, right? So you don't pay the transmission tax because you're buying, you're selling, and that's what you do for a living. But if you are buying property to keep it for yourself, as an investment, to live permanently, as a secondary base, you're always going to pay transmission tax. And then in the property, there's a tax that you pay every year, which is the municipality tax. And these taxes, this percentage diverge from the municipality you are in. For example, a property of 300,000 euros in Nazaré, where I'm at, is going to pay the maximum. This municipality pays the maximum. And I believe it's around 600 to 1,000 euros per year. Okay. But there are municipalities which is way less, and you are only going to pay 200 euros per year. It really depends on which municipality you are in. So when buying a property in Portugal, my concern would always be to be represented by a lawyer, to have a lawyer with you that would explain and translate the documents, so you have the knowledge of understanding what you're signing. Of course, ask which taxes are you going to pay, so you don't get surprised when you're signing the completion deed and you have all these taxes to pay. And also ask how much you're going to pay in municipality taxes. The water and the energy bill, they also differ by the municipality you are in, and things like that. So those were the taxes that I would think a US citizen would be worried about. If you have a property, a secondary property, an investment property, and you want to rent out that property, if you do long-term renting as a Portuguese tax resident, in this case a US citizen being a tax resident in Portugal, you would pay 28% taxes on that rent. But on the other hand, if you decide that you want to do short-term rental, then you are going to pay 6% taxes on those profits of short-term rental plus VAT. So 6% plus 23% of that 6%, which is the VAT. Okay. That's a big difference because, when you do short-term rental, you have to pay the fees of the platform that you are using. You have all these monthly expenses, daily expenses that you don't have when you do long-term rental. That's the big difference between the two. And of course, crypto taxes, we already addressed them. Income taxes. Income taxes are progressive. It depends on how much you do per year. It can go to 48%, depending on how much you do per month. As a self employed, the taxes that you are going to pay is on a trimester. So the first 3 trimesters will let you know of the taxes you are going to pay on the second trimester of the year, and so on. As a self-employed, you have to pay yourself Social Security and the IRS, the taxes for income on self-employment as a contractor or whatnot. When you are employed by a company, then they are the ones who pay Social Security, and they discount 11% of the Social Security payments out of your salary slip. In Portugal, we receive income salary slips on a monthly basis, not a weekly basis, but a monthly basis. If you receive donations, you are a tax resident of Portugal, and you receive donations either from your child or from your parents, which is in the direct line, you have to declare them, but you pay zero taxes on them. If those donations came from a friend, from an uncle, then you pay 10% stamp tax on those donations. If it's money, if it's property, then it can go to 20%. Okay? Now, let me see what else. When you go to the coffee shop, when you go to the pastry, when you go to restaurants, you have taxes already included in the payments. In the when you see the menu and you see those prices, the taxes are already included in there, and it's around 13%. On the supermarket, the basic products for your needs, for your basic needs, are 6% taxes, but it's already included in the price. And when you go to the coffee shop, coffees, you buy clothes and whatnot, then you have the 23% VAT.
Right. Those are just the VAT taxes you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. It's all included in the price. I know that in some locations of Spain, in other countries, you see the price of the product you're paying, and then you have to add taxes to that. That's not how we work here in Portugal. When you see the tag, the price already includes the taxes.
That's a very important way in which the government funds their operations. In the US, the states do sales tax, which is a similar thing, but like as you point out, VAT tax are typically already included. And in the US, the sales tax is added on top. So when you look
Ah,
at prices, something to keep in your mind, it's as Americans.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Oh, it wasn't a question. It was just a
Ah,
comment that in the US, we do sales tax, which is an additional tax on top of the total price of the
oh, wow.
transaction. So that we don't do that, but we do sales tax. And each state has a different sales tax amount. Some have very little, some have quite high amounts.
Oh,
High,
wow.
high, high in terms of, 8%, maybe more.
Ah,
But
that's not that bad. Here is 23%, which is quite, yes, it's, yeah, but we are used to. And something that the US citizens will find different is that when we go to a restaurant, when we go to any place that we want to buy a product, restaurants, supermarkets, stores, and whatnot, they always say, "Do you want me to put your tax number?" Why is that? Because in Portugal, one would ask if you want to put the tax number. If I go to a coffee shop and I gave them my tax number for them to put in the invoice, it will automatically go to my own platform in the tax office. And then when I do my tax return, it all comes there. And then we have discounts for restaurant bills, a little bit, but we still have restaurant bills, coffee, and some purchases are included in those discounts at the end of the year when you do your tax returns. So it was a way for the government to control how much we are spending and how if the taxes are being paid or not by giving us this opportunity. If we give our taxes, then it will be deducted in the invoice at the end of the year, and that's a way of us making the sellers to declare everything they're selling, right?
yes, okay. So the intent there by getting a credit is to make sure that the seller is not doing an unreported cash transaction, but actually it's forcing the sellers to disclose this to the government that they actually did the transaction.
Exactly.
Very clever. It's very interesting. Each country, how they tax,
I
it's
know.
amazing. Uh, I find it very interesting. All
Very
right. Hey,
interesting indeed.
so you've been living in Portugal for a number of years and decide that you have to move back home. What's the process for exiting your visa arrangement?
That's a very good question because nowadays, there's a lot of people online with their YouTube channels and they are seeking drama. So they are talking a lot about, oh, Portugal is changing the rules on immigration. The new law has come. That's not true. No new law. We're just discussing it with the ministry at the assembly, at the parliament. So there's no new law yet. We are changing the rules for citizenship. We are only talking about it. We haven't done any change in the law. There's no changes as of today yet. So everything is the same. And now they are also discussing there's an exit tax. There's not an exit tax. And people say, oh, I have my crypto. So when I leave Portugal, I have to pay my exit tax on crypto. Now, there's always a number of questions that I do. How are you going to pay exit tax on crypto if when you were in Portugal, you never declared the amount of crypto you hold, that you own? You only declare the crypto you sell to fiat, right? There's no exit tax. So when you leave the country, what do you need to do? Okay, I'm leaving the country. I don't want to be a tax resident of Portugal. So the first thing to do is to associate to your Portuguese tax number, which we call the NIF. That NIF, in order for you to be a tax resident of Portugal, that NIF needs to be associated to a Portuguese address. If it's not associated to a Portuguese address, you are not a tax resident, period. Okay? Regardless of how many years you've been in Portugal, if you don't associate your NIF with a Portuguese address, you are not a tax resident. With this being said, when you leave the country, the first thing to do is to associate your new address in the US or whatever you're going to leave after, your new address in the NIF, in the Portuguese tax number. That way you will stop being a tax resident in that moment. And then there's the immigration issues. If you say, oh, I've been in the country with a D8, then let's send an email to, let's inform them that we no longer want to live in the country and we are living and don't want to be an immigrant in Portugal anymore. So we send an email explaining the reasons why we're leaving and saying that we are leaving, period. Okay? So that way you informed IMA, which is the immigration agency, and you informed the tax authorities, and that is it. If you say, Maria, I'm leaving in May, so I haven't done the 183 days yet. And I've been told that I have to declare my crypto. It's not the crypto that you have to declare. What happens is when you leave in May, you haven't done the 183 days to do a tax return, but for some reason you have sold in January, February, March, April, you have sold crypto that you have held. What the law says is, okay, if you sold crypto you held before you leave the country, please do a tax return for those selling those sales you've done with crypto. That way everything is in conformity, and before you leave the country you say, I've sold 100,000 euros of crypto in January and now I'm leaving. That's okay. Just do a tax return on that. Just declare that you sold that, and that's okay. If you say, Maria, I'm leaving in May, but I haven't touched crypto, I haven't done anything, and I'm going to declare my income taxes or my any other taxes that I have in this new country I'm in, where I'm going to spend more than 183 days, that's okay as well.
This has been an amazing collection of information, and I hope people listening to this, Maria, have really picked up that you know your stuff. You understand the Portuguese laws, you understand how to explain it to Americans in terms that we understand. How can people contact you if they would like to, discuss and have a consultation?
Thank you so much for asking that. So if you go to www.visasinportugal.com, one can see the several services we provide, but on the first one is the strategy session. As I said in the beginning, the strategy session is very important because, like you also said, it doesn't matter if you are discussing these topics in the coffee shop. Those conversations are not with those who are specialized in the matter, and the best visa for your situation would not be the best visa for your neighbor's situation, for example. So the strategy session is very important to understand where are you at in life, what are your goals, when you want to move, do you receive a pension, do you receive income, and whatnot. Because in Portugal, we here at the office, we address golden visa applications, which have changed, but they do exist and they are very appealing as well. So you have, for those who are in crypto, you can do a golden visa with ETFs, with crypto funds. Those who want to retire in Portugal, they have a retirement plan. We can do a D7. They have properties that they own, they rent out. We can do a D7. They have staking rewards that give them a good enough amount of money every month. We can do a D7. They have a 401k that gives them a good amount on interest. They have other savings account. We can do a D7. On the other hand, if you say, Maria, I'm working remotely. I can work remotely from any country in the world, and I choose Portugal. Let's do a D8. Maria, I want to study. I want to be better. I want to do a PhD in Portugal. Let's do a student visa. There's so many visas, and you can do a medical visa in case you are in the US, but because there's a very good thing in Portugal where we don't have this fee of healthcare that we have to pay every month. We don't have that in Portugal. Public health is free. You don't have a monthly payment. You only pay when you use it. And then you have private healthcare as well, which pays a big percentage of your bill. But we are talking about 100 euros, 200 euros per month, not as the amounts that we know that in the US is charged. We don't have that. So there's a lot of people from the US that come to the country. Imagine I'm moving to Portugal, I'm in vacation in Portugal, and then I find out that I have a disease and I want to be taken care of in Portugal. We can do a medical residency permit as well. There's so many options. That's why I believe the strategy session is the first product to be purchased. But we also have these clients that just go to the website, they know what they want, they've done the research, they watch the interviews I've done in so many YouTube channels, and they know what they want, they just go there and buy the product. Also, a big thing that we do in the office is the property acquisition. We are the only law firm that search for everything in that property. We don't just gather the paperwork and book the completion deed. No, we go further. We have meetings with the architects at the city hall that have approved the plans for the property you're buying. So we know for sure that the previous owner or even the builder didn't get creative, change the location of a window, did a balcony, did something in the terrace that it's not approved by the city hall, and therefore they have a requirement of demolition. This happens a lot, and we do search all of these things. We search if the property is in a divorce, if it's in a bankruptcy, if it's in any time of legal issue, if it has liens pending and whatnot. So when our clients buy a new property, it's supposed to be a dream and not a problem, right? So we are the only law firm that checks for all of that. We do those visa residencies, and we also give a lot of information. Sometimes the strategy session is only to address your current circumstances. Sometimes the client is not ready to move in yet, but he wants to know what's the strategy to follow in the next 2-3 years when he really wants to move, and we go from there. So the strategy session is always good, but at www.visasinportugal.com you find all the services you have, and we have a big team that takes care of all of our clients, and this is like a family office where we take care of our clients' needs, and they stay with us after the residency permit, where we change the driving's license, we import their cars, we help them bring their things. So yeah, we are very fortunate to have clients like this.
Well, thank you very much for being on our show, Maria. Wish you
Thank you.
much
Thank
success.
you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye. You too. Bye.